Hi guys! And I just wanted to show you my quick little cute little necklace. Um, John bought it back for me and it's so appropriate because it's a pine tree. And those of you that don't know, my daughter's last name means pine tree. And so he doesn't know that, but I'm wearing my daughter near my chest, you could say. Anyway, today's live is inspired a little differently today, you guys. I want to talk to you about the science of revision. Yes? All right. So, revision, the reason that I want to talk about this is because now that I know the God design completely, I can't imagine working harder. So I want to talk to you guys about revision, okay? And I was talking to Maria last night about this, and like I, peeped in her head, and she gave me this great analogy, and I was just like, oh yeah, I got to share this, right? And then Anja asked about revision earlier in the group, and so she's my inspiration for this, all right? So if you remember the God design, you are the gatekeeper. Okay, you command eternal God's substance forever. Creation is eternal process, and you are in Eden with the ability to name anything. These are standard, basic, always true. Okay, so when it comes to revision, what I want you guys to think about is this. All right, have you guys ever been in a situation where you want to change something and you want to go back and you want to deny what happened? So you go back and you try and revise it. And if you're lucky enough, you do enter that state because you're still boss. Okay? So for some people that do revision like this, in the fly, in the moment, it's good. For the people that want to come back and take their past life experiences and say, this didn't happen to me, or that didn't happen to me, or this and that and the third, those are the ones I want to talk to today. All right? So if you are the gatekeeper and all of your experiences are on display, all what you consider good or bad, then revising things as if they had not occurred, unless you do it in the minute, but I'm talking about, your, different other experiences, revising things as if they hadn't occurred can be done. You can enter a parallel world, but it's the equivalent of having like a house or a car loan or something where you suddenly get into financial trouble and you can't pay that payment now. So you ask them if they'll defer the payment and they'll put it at the tail end of your loan. So you get a free pass for a month or two, but then that tail end payment still arrives. Okay? That's the analogy I want to give you. When you try to deny your experience as gatekeeper, you are, in a way, blocking yourself. You're just deferring it. Can you enter a new state where everything seems lovely? Sure. Yes. But you just deferred. Okay? What I mean by deferred is you have to remember the design. What you want and what you don't want are floating around your head all the time, appearing outside of you, so that you can name it and claim it. Right? So if you remember that, then what's going to happen if you have denied certain experience, even if you quantum jump into a new reality where this isn't true anymore and that kind of thing, there's still going to be people outside of you appearing outside of you in order for you to solve it, and they're going to trigger you. You're the gatekeeper, remember? So this is more about revision in a different light. What I'm asking you guys to do is not spiritually bypass. Okay? I think we're done with spiritual bypassing. I think we need to accept who we are. If the mission is, I need to fall in love with myself and all of my experience, then why would I deny something that happened to me? Okay? Now I understand some of these things have been painful and we want to avoid them. But it is the acceptance of them that gets us through the door. Gets us to our ideal life. And so what we're doing is creating more work. Way more work than necessary. And if you understand me, I'm all about the path of least resistance. Least resistance, no effort. Declare, speak, do, enter. declare, speak, do, enter. Okay, so I'm not about all these techniques and this, that, and the third. That's not to say that I don't know them, because I totally do. I played with them and I still play with them, and I can still tell you they all work. And if someone needs help with a specific method, I can absolutely help. But what I'm talking about revision is different. What I'm asking you guys to do in revision is this: find the value. Find the value in the experience you did not like, because this is automatic self-acceptance. Okay? So for some of us, if you think about it, think of it like this. For some of us, if you think about it, that's full self-acceptance. But in redefining a moment as how it served you, you've suddenly not just accepted it, but put it in a new light so you can enter the highest ideal, which is the plan in the first place. Right? So think about that for a minute. Even if it's something that you can't appreciate right now, maybe it's a pattern that you are so sick of, and that's what turned you to Neville, and that's what got you, awake in your power, but you really, really despise that experience. Then a way to see it differently or to accept it is really easy. Just say, okay, yeah, those things happened, and I couldn't appreciate them in the moment, but I can look backwards, since hindsight is 20/20, look at my memories and say, you know what? Overall, even if everything just brought me to this very moment of my awakening, I can appreciate those things. And there you let go of your animosity. See, the kingdom of God is a very specific frequency. Appreciation, acceptance, everything's yes, everything is value, everything is love. It's love. So you realize that when you're trying to revise something that's already been created, that's not to say that you can't do that. If you do it in the moment, like my avocados, you guys, yeah, cool. So it depends on the situation. But what I'm asking you to do here is remember that when it comes to experiences that you have not loved, this is not the time to spiritually bypass. This is not the time to do that. This is the time to find the value in your experience and start embodying that instead. Because remember, if you are the gatekeeper and your experiences are what's keeping you locked out of instant now, then accepting your experiences will get you all the way around. And so what's happening now is I have folks that I'm working with that have recognized that their experience is on display. And so even though they're in their body, they also recognize that they're formless simultaneously. And they're really enjoying this new experience because all of a sudden they're like, I don't know what this is, but I feel amazing. And so that's where we're at, you guys. I want you to find the value in what you had, because if the door to heaven unlocks by loving yourself, then why would revising something, denying it ever happened, and creating something help you? As a creator, yes, you can do that and you can demonstrate your power. But remember the analogy of you being the source of everything, and then when you try and work on manifestation techniques, all that you've done is told yourself you don't have something and then try to prove it to yourself, so you swim all the way upriver to get back to the same point of origin. That's what manifestation tools are for me. I can't do them no more. Like now, I'm just like, it's got to be instant. It's got to be instant. If I say I need something, it's got to appear. And it does. And so now, whole corporations appear. Whole states appear. Lakes, rivers, mountains. Food in the fridge, no problem. Money in the bank, no problem. Call it into existence now. Right? Now, how does that happen? That happens when you are fully accepting of yourself, because you see, the desire that you have, you guys have to know this. This is God's will. And if you don't separate yourself from God and you know you are God, and then your desires are God-given, right? So they're your desires and you are God. Therefore, you're denying them or judging them or saying, this is too expensive. This is out of my reach. Do you see how you just took God's will and put your will on top of it? It doesn't fit. Now you can be right, because everybody can be right. But how is that serving you? How is that serving you if the whole illusion is about falling in love with yourself, owning your experience, recognizing yourself on display everywhere? Everywhere. Last night, I had a 2-hour call with someone in Dubai, okay? And we have more in common, okay, than anyone that I've ever spoken to. His entire painful journey matched mine to a T, including the things that I did to other people. He was on the receiving end of those things. So I met myself. And had I not recognized my experience, had I not been at peace with who I am, I would not be able to stand on the other side of that phone call and tell him, you know what? It works out in the end. All of that was gold. All of that was precious. Stop denying it. And so it was a really good conversation in which I understood that really what you guys are after is self-acceptance. Self-acceptance, that's it. Stop denying the things that happen. They happen. Let's not spiritually bypass and put that payment at the end, because you still got to pay. If you still got to pay, what's the point in paying it 2 months down the road? You get to enjoy a temporary moment where you get to prove to yourself you've had powers. Oh, that's unnecessary. You have powers regardless. Right? All I'm helping you guys do is make your unconscious conscious. That's what we do. Once you guys figure out that everything is here first, and then you walk in it below, and you can see through walls, you can see through space, and you can see the time portals, and you can realize that you are the material veil. It is your body. It is what you decided doesn't fit that you're here to resolve, which is why these shadow people appear outside of you pretending not to be you. But it's your experience. Remember. Every single person in the world, if you don't know what you're looking at, if you listen to them, you will discover your mother, your son, your cousin, your best friend. All memories that you had turned into a conglomerate of experiences, and then that becomes a new person. But it's you. It is your memories. So it is a new body of knowledge that appears, a new set of experiences. But they're not new. They're your experiences, because there isn't one experience under the sun that hasn't occurred to God yet. God's been everywhere. And so then how do you realize you were God? You realize that by understanding your point in time, how your experience serves you. And then you're golden. That's when the activation happens. Whatever you say, now you can be still and know. You don't have arguments. If you do, you can look back and say, hold on, what was I trying to tell myself? Instead of, someone's yelling at me. Do you see the difference? You're so at peace regardless of what's happening that everything becomes perfect. Because you've taken your place in the middle of eternity, and it is so different, because now all the things that maybe bothered you and triggered you, no more triggers. You just have peace. You just start saying, I accept this, I accept this, I accept that. You just understand God all of a sudden. You just say yes to everything. Yes. I get it. I see. But this is a type of self-love. It must be mastered. There's no problems out there. I know that you think that there are because it looks that way, but you got to remember the outside world is the no thing that you have always had the ability to name. Always. Adam is mankind. It's an eternal process. Outside of you has always been Eden. Okay? But if you judge something, you just froze a moment, you stepped out of Eden, and you don't understand how everything's happening at once. So I want to make that clear, that as soon as you do, you're a whole nother person. You are now God on earth. You're truly God on earth. And I don't mean a God that you try and tell yourself that you are. You know you are God on earth. You know it. Because you can read everybody's minds, you can walk through walls, you can do anything, really. Walk on water if you want. Make wine out of water? Sure. Move a mountain, create a river? Sure. What you need? Somebody sick? Let me pray for them. They're going to be better in 2 seconds. Okay? Now you guys have to recognize this in order to make this experiment work. Because the architect of the game knows that the only purpose was for us to fall in love with ourselves. Whole conception. Your current experience, because it's the imaginary identity that serves as a gatekeeper, and universal experience happening all at once. Once you understand how to be the intelligence behind the veil, using your body, your mind, and your thoughts, and that alone, you can just stare into a crowd and watch people get better. And I know a lot of people say, bullshit. And yet there are people already doing this in the world, in other parts of the country. So if you're trying to discover, a lot of people are sort of in this stage right now where they have felt dispassionate or disconnected, and then they're sort of in this in-between phase where they don't want to go back to 3D. They know something's better, but they're not quite sure what they're looking at. This is normal. So if anything, all I'm asking you guys to do, please, 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 stop trying to bypass your experience. When it comes to revision, it is not about bypassing. It's about accepting who you are. When it comes to actual personal experience is what I'm talking about. If you want to put avocados in the fridge, or you want to put tea in the fridge, or you want to revise a tip in the moment, yeah, do that. Do that, please. All day long. Because it's how you define something that you have the power to enter. And you have to remember to be the precog, right? Because you're standing at the end. As long as you remember that you are the precog who gets to define the next moment despite what's going on outside, you're in good shape. So that form of revision is cool. But the type that I really, 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 really need you to understand is anything that has anything to do with past experience that you don't like. Okay? When you see other people, parents, yes, hold them in a better light. Clearly, you're not seeing correctly because they're God too. So if you don't hold them up to that standard, then it is your shadow, not God's, that you are seeing. And I need you guys to take responsibility for that. If you want to end all wars, own who you are. 100%. Parents too. Past lives. Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your thoughts on display. People, your living memories on display. Everything, your living memories on display. It's never not you. The design is self-contained. It contains the multiverse. You and you alone are responsible for your version of heaven on earth. You and your whole universe goes with you. Not just an individual. You and your whole universe goes with you. This is the design. So when that multiverse lights up, when all of us have understood the design, our program, and just get busy on creating our own heaven because we now understand our power and we understand our mission and we know how to love ourselves, in every single one of those little, I want to call it like a domino effect, when all of you guys light up from within like this, the golden age begins. I'm not kidding. You got to turn on your light, you guys. If you still see separation, you haven't turned on your light all the way. You're blocking it. Remember, this is your source of light, right? This is your heart source. This is your light. This is what's determining what you see outside based on what you're thinking in here. So now these two things must work together at all times in order to enter every state that it loves. But when it doesn't love something, you have to understand that you just turn this off and you put this on, and then you project your past life experience onto it, and then you're not seeing reality, you're seeing what you've projected onto it. So if that's the case, when you don't like something, think real hard before you utter in here or out here anything. Because there is no escaping the fact that there is the light and there is the shadow. And they are both things, and they are both us. And we must make them one to see the whole design and its perfection going on all the time. And so you all of a sudden change completely. You at once may have been afraid of your thoughts. You never fear your thoughts again. You laugh. You laugh like a child. You're so happy. Okay? But this is going to be about that. It's self-acceptance. It's self-love. It's real self-acceptance. It's real self-love. I don't want you guys to think getting your nails done is self-love. Okay? Self-care or whatever. Yeah, get your nails done. Get your hair done. Whatever. If it makes you happy, go do it. But make sure that what you do is all about you and how much love you can emit to things. Okay? Realize that how you animate things up here is what you're seeing down there. Remember the order of operations. It does require a complete 360-degree reversing of your thought process, because remember what we've always done as human beings. We looked outside, and after we looked outside, we let that determine how we feel inside. This preserves the 3D box, and you can enjoy or not enjoy it depending on how you've voiced or what you thought of it in the moment. Right? So you get to be there. That's what God means. If you judge something, you die. You live there. That's death. It's backwards. Think backwards, you guys. Living is death. Death is living. It's backwards. So if you can get that, then you understand not to judge. You have acceptance. And so now, once you've accepted, you literally, I want to picture you like easing your way like a Shiva, like a dancing Shiva in the middle of all of eternity, playing with the light and playing with the shadow and just having a ball, because you know it's you. Don't have a care in the world. You know it's you. You can talk to anyone. Whatever they tell you, you don't care. In the sense that they don't threaten you in any way, because you recognize yourself in the moment. And if someone voices your fears, you now appreciate the hell out of that person, because, oh, you're like, thank God you said that. I almost caught those thought bullets. I would have died there. Right? And so you laugh at someone who's voicing your fears, because now you can see in the dark thanks to them. Because every person represents its own light source, its own God in human form, its own person. If you're seeing it out of your eyes, it's your own set of memories bent up and appearing like another person. And I say this is so, so important, because you got to remember, you guys, the way that I have peace over all death is because, you know, for example, my grandfather, he passed away when my mother was 12. See how I said I, because I know my mom and I were the same person? When my mother was 12, he passed away, so I never met him. But one day, as I'm walking my dog, he suddenly appears, and he tells me he's going to be in Barbados, and that he's very proud of me, and that not to forget that he was a great businessman with huge corporations, and that's in my genetic line too. It was a very deeply profound conversation. I'm just walking my dog, but I'm listening to my grandfather speak to me, because I am both invisible and visible at once now. Okay? And so he's telling me, I'm so proud of you. You bridged the gap. You learned. You figured it out. You figured it out. You figured out what everybody needs to learn so they can get to heaven. You did it, baby. You did it. And I was crying because I didn't know exactly what he meant, but I thought, wow, what did I do? And I was so happy in that moment because I received it. Okay? Then I go to Barbados, and I meet a man, and sure enough, he has the cleft chin. And the voice inside me, the guide, said, you recognize your grandfather in him, don't you? You see who he is. He's just pretending to be another human being so he can appear in your life right now. And it was a beautiful experience, because only I can hear this. You know, the Holy Spirit's talking to me. And this man doesn't know why he's drawn to me, or what the connection is, or why he thinks that I'm like someone that could coach him, you know, these things, right? Spiritually, at least. And And he has no idea why he's playing this role. And the whole time, I know it's my grandfather. He's just unaware because he's asleep inside this man's body, pretending not to know me. So, and I'm serious about how this works, because if you guys get this, right? Seriously, no one ever dies. You're never sad, ever. If your mom passed away, you could see her in every human being on earth, because the material veil is the freaking illusion. Every body an illusion. And so if you guys want to have that kind of peace, that kind of, it's about loving you, loving all of your experiences, understanding what's on display. When someone comes up and they say something, receive it, and then decide how you will make the next moment, since you know you're God in the moment. Take your power back, you guys. Please. But when it comes to revision, it works. It works. But revision used wisely, as in, I accept who I am, and now I see the value in this, and now I bring this experience forth. And so now I've just moved in mind with all of this experience that I used to deny, get kept out of heaven. So think about that. All the people that included in that experience, their universal knowledge just became your universal knowledge. Now you've gained new abilities. Now you've entered a new state because you're not denying who you are. So now the points of contention that, remember, are still floating around, because you have to remember the design. The points of contention are still floating around, and you still have to name them, but they're less and less. So now you have more yes things and you have less no things. You have more yes, less no. And all you have to remember, the no thing needs to become a yes thing, because you need to be Adam and name the no thing and turn it into a yes thing. And if you don't know how to do that, it's real simple. It's real simple. What do you desire? Establish that. Receive divine order. If you don't know what absolute laws are, start to learn them. Start to learn them. Because I want to give you this impression, okay? It's the last thing I'm going to say. When you control universal experience, it is very helpful to establish universal laws with your voice, because this moves the entire thing like this. So there's your way, which is a partial way, and then there's God's way, which is the whole way. So the varying degrees in the time that it takes for people to manifest anything instantly has to do with how well do you know God's way? How familiar are you with your I am presence? Allow it to work through you. How familiar are you with the laws? What do you say when things don't appear right? And how do you speak life over your nothing to make it a yes thing? All right? That's my talk. So if you have any questions regarding revision, or if there's an easier way, the easier way is accept what you're shown, find value in it, integrate it. No war, no fuss, no muss. Okay? I'm only saying this because there are people who have successfully revised whole things, and I get it. I'm not saying that they didn't, But see, their wound, their unaddressed stuff, the one that they wanted to reject, is still with them. So then they go and they try and enter a new experience, and that wound that even if they entered a great new experience, some other thing is going to happen on the tail end, because time is circular on the tail end anyway. Might as well face it now and get it over with. I don't like having debts. I have 0 debts. I don't do debts. No. Pay you now. Pay you now. No debts. Okay? Because God's ideas are complete. They are whole. And so if you understand how to use the whole, you now have instant manifestation power to do anything, to call forth anything. All right? All right, you guys. I think I said that 3 ways, 3 or 4 different ways, the same thing. I'm trying to drive it home to remember self-acceptance. Find value. You want to do revision right? Find value in what you are trying to deny. Stop denying, because as the gatekeeper, you don't want to do that. Your perfected state has always been yours and in your hands if you only understood that it's about self-acceptance and love. All right, you guys. Brief. I love you. I'm also going to be doing some introductions of some folks. I want you guys to hear their live testimonies. Maria kind of inspired me. I want you guys to meet the team. There are some amazing, amazing, amazing people in this group, and we haven't even scratched the surface of all the ones that are coming. Like, I've already seen it. God shows me, don't worry, baby, just keep talking, I got you. And so all the people are coming. But in the interim, our little small community is really amazing. Amazing, amazing people. I couldn't be more happier to be shown everywhere I exist through you guys. Imaginary Cindy is everywhere. And she's so in love with everything that she sees. So this design is true of everybody. Everybody has their own imaginary identity from which they came to reconcile and fix their puzzle. But trust me on the architect, you know? I hear so many people in the world. I'm not even sure who the architect is, but the architect assures me that I'm right. And that the design of the game works this way. All right? I love you. Bye-bye, guys.